Welcome to Cinema Convos. I'm your host, Yash. I'm here with my co-host, Zach, and our buddy Ryan, our featured guest, who's been on the show before. And today we're trying something a little bit different. We're going to do brief reaction slash discussion to a new movie trailer, and we're hoping to do more of this. So if you enjoy this episode, let us know. With that, today we're discussing the trailer for the new film Anora, written and directed by Sean Baker, and it is the Palme d'Or winner from the Cannes Film Festival this year. It is Sean Baker's fifth film that he directed, just him. I know he co-directed another film that Ryan was telling me about. What was it called again, Ryan?
It's called Takeout.
Takeout. Okay, cool.
Takeout.
So yeah, it's we're very excited to talk about it. This is very highly anticipated for me personally. I had the pleasure of seeing this trailer for the first time Thursday night in a theater with my friend Zach here before Longlegs, which is also a great film. And yeah, we just all did a quick rewatch of it, and we're excited to give you some initial thoughts. And so I guess to start off, let me get y'all's initial thoughts on the trailer, and then I'll kind of give a little bit of my 2 cents. Let's get you first, Ryan.
Cool. So earlier when I watched the trailer this morning, like the first thing that blew my mind was how good the cinematography of this trailer looks. I think this is like Sean Baker's best looking film. It's probably his most highest budgeted film. And just to see him go from like shooting a movie on an iPhone with Tangerine to this in less than 10 years, it blows my mind. It's insane how good the trailer looks just visually. And I think my second favorite aspect that I noticed like in the first couple seconds of the trailer was that song. That initial song really kind of like lifts you up and you're like, man, this is gonna be like a fun movie with just the song in the very beginning. And then the trailer kind of just transitions to everything else that's very typical in a Sean Baker film of these characters getting to crazy situations kind of just out of the blue. And I think Sean Baker does a really good job in his previous films with that. So I'm super excited to watch Anora when it comes out in theaters in October. And I'm just super pumped that Sean Baker's got a great new film coming out and it looks beautiful. It looks amazing.
It's funny you bring up how high budget it looks because it does look great and it looks very well shot. And I think it looks like it's maybe his largest scale movie he's done. It is about one central character, but it looks like there's a lot happening to her, whereas a lot of his other stories feel a bit quieter, a bit smaller scale, I feel like. I mean, it looks just as chaotic as a movie like Tangerine, in terms of like there's a lot going on, but it's really cool to see a filmmaker that I've started to follow over the years. And I wouldn't even say he's like my favorite filmmaker of all time, but I think he's a filmmaker who has really found his voice and really makes these character focused dramas that show us these characters that we aren't necessarily idolizing, but we're seeing the human side of them and seeing that they're flawed, but at the end of the day, they're people just like us. And I think that's really cool. It's really important. And I'm just excited because it looks really funny. I think Mikey Madison, that's her name, right?
Mikey. Yep.
Mikey Madison. She made me feel like every like inside out emotion in this trailer alone. Like it's just insane how the range of her performance. Like I'm laughing. There are scenes where I feel like empathize with her. There are scenes where I'm just like, this is going to be a phenomenal performance. And with Palme d'Or picks, it can be hit or miss for me. I love some of them, and some of them I'm like, wonder why they picked that one. But this is looking like a movie that I'm really gonna enjoy. And Neon's just on that hot streak right now, and I'm pumped. And I'll definitely watch this with you, Ryan. Wherever we are, we'll make it happen.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Just sort of talking about like Sean Baker as a director, it really is encouraging, especially if you're a fan, just to see him where he started with Tangerine and his earlier ones, to see, well, all you said, Ryan, from making movies on an iPhone to making a film that looks like a much higher budget production with this one. It's really encouraging when major studios and that major backers have been paying attention. This happens when you have an indie filmmaker over the course of his career, starts generating this buzz and he gets to make a movie like this. It makes me honestly hopeful of, depending on how successful Anora is, how high budget his next movie is going to be and what that's going to like.
It's funny you bring this up because I was just doing a dive on this movie and how it performed at Cannes, and there was a clip of Sean Baker holding the Palme d'Or, and someone's like, how does it feel? The reporter's just asking him, and he's like, this has been my dream for like 30 years, like winning this award in particular. And he said, he asked him like, so what's next for you? And he's like, now that I've won this, honestly, like let's see if I can get some more money and like fund my next project. He's already dreaming bigger than he already has. So I think
Yeah.
we have a lot more to see from this guy, and that's really exciting. One thing I was talking to Ryan about, because this trailer came out today, so we've just been chatting about it all day. So Sean Baker, all of his films are similar in some ways, but they're all original stories. Nothing based in anything. Maybe inspired by like I know with Simon Rex, they take pieces of like his actual career and like weave it into the movie. But I really like how he does that, and I think it's so important for us to, as film viewers, and potential filmmakers, but definitely as film viewers, to support movies like this in the theater because I'm getting to the point where I do enjoy a good big franchise movie in the theater, but I find myself more excited for these smaller projects, or like not smaller, but like more original, low key projects. I was talking to Zach as well. Like, there's a movie coming out called Dee that I'm really excited for, and I'm a huge Deadpool fan, and I feel more excited for movies like Dee and Anora than I do for Deadpool and Wolverine. If I'm being honest, I'm still excited for Deadpool. Don't get me wrong, that's going to be real cinema as well. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I think I see these original movies, and sometimes I'm in the movie theater by myself, and it's like the people who are complaining that everything's a franchise or a reboot aren't showing up for these original films. And I think it's just important that Longlegs performed very well this weekend because of phenomenal marketing campaign. And I think if they tap into that sort of marketing for other films, they could perform a lot better instead of pushing all the marketing. Like, I'm excited for Twisters. I've seen the trailer for that movie before every movie for the last like 6 months. I feel like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
every time I open up something about Longlegs, it's like, oh, let's look at Micah Monroe's heart rate the first time she saw Nicolas Cage. Like, innovative marketing can really push these like smaller movies, which horror has more of a draw. But I think the tides are turning. Like, people are looking for these more original, unique films.
Absolutely. Like I completely agree. And I really think studios like Neon, like an A24, are really pushing this fandom for these original, innovative films. I mean, there's always been those, but like 10 years ago, the people who call themselves fans, there wasn't really as much of a word for people who were fans of these kind of movies. And now you're just a fan of A24 films. The fact that you can say the name of a studio and people know exactly the vibe of films you like is really
Mhm.
interesting.
It is
Um,
really interesting, and it's just like they really, I think, prioritize bringing new filmmakers to the scene. So many of their films are original. I mean, there's no like real franchise building going on for either studio. There might be a sequel at some point for some of these things, but they're the two that are spearheading this movement. I joined a couple Facebook groups. I mean, I'm in an A24 Facebook group. I'm in a Neon group. I'm in a not A24 comma but group, like where they just talk about unique films that aren't A24. And I just think that kind of thing is growing. I'm really excited for this movie. It's probably in my five most anticipated for the rest of the year. And I just hope people come to see it because when Red Rocket hit theaters, I had a very small window. I didn't was not able to see it in theaters. So yeah, but now
yeah.
I'm seeing like the A24 films are playing at my theater, like no matter how small or big they are, like at least for a week or two.
Yeah. I was telling Yash earlier that I drove from like Houston all the way to Sugarland to see Red Rocket like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on like the last day it was showing. I I wanted to see it so bad, and it was only at that theater for like a week, maybe 2 weeks, probably not even 2 weeks, honestly. So I had to like drop everything that I was doing that day and just go see Red Rocket. It was totally worth it. It was worth the drive, and that film is set in Texas City, and I grew up 20 minutes from Texas City, so it's just really amazing to see a great filmmaker like Sean Baker take advantage of a setting that's very close to me and bring this crazy story like Red Rocket to Texas City and the Texas Gulf Coast. It's just it really like warmed my heart when I saw it. I was so happy and blown away with how well he was able to incorporate the setting of Texas City and the local residents into his film that he does in all of his films, like Florida Project, Tangerine, and even Starlet. He's really good at making the community feel like a character as well.
Mm-hmm. And doesn't
Absolutely.
Anora take place in New York City? I
I think
think,
so.
which is a crazy another crazy turn
Yeah.
for Sean Baker. It's always like kind of a small, quiet town.
Well,
Or it's
He-
in LA, you know.
or it's in LA, but like I guess not always, but like more
yeah.
recently, it's his last few projects have been in like a quiet, like they're near Orlando in the Florida project, but they're not in the
Mhm.
like they're at the movie takes place like in a motel, like it's
Mhm.
more but I do think one thing I do admire about him is that he does make films for grown-ups. Like they cover a lot of heavy topics. They can be raunchy. They can you can feel so many emotions while watching these things. I think I've laughed and like almost cried in like all of these movies. And it's just like such a range of emotions you feel while experiencing a Sean Baker film. And I think experiencing that with a group of people in a movie theater would be really special. And I think this movie is definitely going to be insane because one of the quotes they use is makes Pretty Woman look like a Disney movie, which is hilarious to me. I love
Yeah.
seeing what quotes they pick out from the press for the trailers, and obviously like one of a once in a lifetime performance and all that. You expect that, but the Pretty Woman call out was kind of hilarious to me.
Gosh, that goes back to your creative marketing you were talking about. That kind of films need to do more of. If you can pick out a quote from an early screening or a quote from a view that is as unique as that, you take that and you run with it. And you can really
Absolutely. I mean, Longlegs had the quotes. One critic said scariest movie of the decade, and it's been on all of their posters. It's not the scariest movie. Now people think it is the scariest movie. It's really interesting. Longlegs and Nora are kind of tied in that way because Longlegs' marketing has resulted in a huge turnout for the film. It's already made more than its budget, so I hope to see some of these smaller budget movies getting return on investment, and I think we will. I think cinema is back. So,
Mhm.
as we've been
But
saying on Letterboxd,
something I have to ask is with you say that Anora and Longlegs have this connection. So is Neon, is there something with their marketing strategy that they're just really succeeding at
there's something
right
going on.
now?
I mean, they
Is this
made
a
that post.
strategy
I
for the
don't know if you saw it.
studios?
I shared it on Instagram, but I'll share it with the listeners. Like they put number one movie in America, and then they put an asterisk after Despicable Me 4,
Yeah,
and the
that's so
caption said "Hail Satan." Like that's hilarious. Like the right audience is gonna see that, and that's gonna make them want to watch the movie even more. There's an art to it. If you give us a cookie cutter trailer, you're gonna get like people's excitement levels only to a certain point. But seeing that Micah Monroe's heart rate was at 170 beats per minute when the first time she saw Nick Cage, like that's really interesting. That's good marketing. It's innovative marketing, and it kind of combines a lot of things that I've studied and enjoy learning about all in one place. And every person who saw Longlegs, assuming they're on time, saw the trailer for Anora, which is great. That's fantastic. It's a high selling movie. The only movie that made higher than is Despicable Me 4, which is definitely probably not, I won't say definitely, probably not as good. I haven't seen it yet. I was gonna see it, but then the hurricane came over, and I'm thinking that might be a sign that I shouldn't watch
But
it.
but I think the success of films like this feeds into the success of other films like this,
Absolutely.
help one, you help all of them, Also taking this to with A24 as well. I know when Civil War it came out, I saw trailers for at least four of their A24 films that A24 is like, okay, Civil War is probably gonna do pretty good at the box office, so we're gonna staple these films on there,
Right.
yeah.
and to be like, well, if you like this.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a good point you bring up. Like whenever you see A24 or a Neon film, the last few trailers are going to be whatever's next from that studio. Like that's just a thing they do. And
Hmm.
that's awesome. So I think that comes back to the more original films you watch in theaters, the more you're exposed to other original films because they're going to play trailers they wouldn't play before, like the Marvels or something. Like they're going to play trailers for that audience. And I think that's awesome. Wrapping up my thoughts on this, I'm pumped for this movie. This could be the only trailer they release, and I'd be happy with it because it's a good trailer, and I don't need to see more to be on board. You know what I mean? Like sometimes trailers give away too much, I guess. But I would love to see how the anticipation will look after this trailer in the upcoming months. Because I guess it's almost, I don't like to say it out loud, it's almost August, so it's only a couple months away before this movie comes out.
Well, one other thing I did want to say about this film is just, yeah, the buzz that it's generated from its fan win is pretty remarkable, which honestly is pretty remarkable. And more so than I've seen with, other films that have won. I think it goes to show that Neon's doing their marketing right. This film was lucky enough to get picked up by a studio like Neon, and then because it used to be the winner like of the Palme d'Or, like it used to be like it was big for a certain kind of people, these film nerds, this kind of stuff. But film nerds is a more popular label than it used to be. And I would argue a bigger community. And people will gladly label, hell yeah, I'm a film nerd, and they want to be part of that. And Neon, the fact that Neon has picked up the last 5 Palme d'Or winners, it said something.
I mean, I'm just really pumped for this film. It's coming out in October, and I'm always down to see a new Sean Baker project whenever he releases one. So I'm just super pumped that he's making films, and I know he's going to keep rolling with filmmaking after this, and I'm just pumped. I'm pumped to see what Sean Baker does next after Anora, and I'm super pumped with Anora. That trailer just made me want to go see it tomorrow if I could.
Yeah,
honestly.
if I could see this movie like right now, I would. I would.
Yeah.
And so interesting that we're so excited about a film like Anora. This isn't the typical film that I don't know. Hordes of people aren't excited about these kinds of films. And
Yeah.
that just kind of speaks to what A24 and Neon have been able to do for a generation of film fans.
What I've discovered is, or what I've always felt is, if you can tell a good story, or if you can entertain people, or if you make them feel something, if you can do any two of those in your film, people will remember it. People will show up for it. That's what I think. I think this movie is going to execute all three, which is a rare treat. When it's entertaining, heartfelt, and also just telling a good story.
Absolutely.
So we have reached the end of today's episode on discussing the Anora trailer. This is our first trailer reaction episode, but we will bring you more as more anticipated trailers are released. And want to thank Ryan for hopping on today.
Thank you all for inviting me. I love Sean Baker so much. I'm always down to be on y'all's show whenever y'all invite me, and I'm super happy y'all invited me today. So thank y'all.
Yeah, of course, of course. Always happy to have you. A big thanks to all of you for listening. If you enjoy our show, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel or leave us a review or rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Stay up to date with new episodes by giving us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter/X. And you can support our show by checking out our available merch online. And we hope you tune in next time.